Yeah, guys, we'll start the session. Yeah, we'll move on. So the Hibernate mapping file is what actually we have seen here. This is my hbm.xml file, right? That is called mapping file. Now let's move on to understand about the configuration file, hibernate.cfg.xml. Okay. Yeah. As I already told about how it looks like, instead of typing it for one more time, I just want to copy it from an existing application. I'll show you. You can able to understand it very easily. Right. Just a minute. Now, if you look at my SRC main resources, earlier we know we have a file called student.hbm.xml. Means we have the mapping file here, right? Now we want to continue with the configuration file, because whenever you want to write Hibernate application, you need to follow, you need to have some XML files. One is a mapping XML file, next configuration XML file. From the next example, you do not find both of them. Instead of writing Hibernate configuration file, in JPA, we write one more XML file called persistence.xml. So that XML file will come from the second example, and we use annotations to do the mapping instead of writing the XML file. So you will not find any XML file, and you will not find any configuration file from the second example onwards. So this is only one example where you can see here, and from the rest of the classes, we will eliminate these files. Okay. This is an example purely we are writing with Hibernate without using any JPA concepts. Without using any JPA concepts, pure Hibernate application we are creating today, right? So let's see how the configuration file looks like. Let me first paste it. Yeah. Now I'm opening the file. File name is hibernate.cfg.xml. This is called Hibernate configuration file. Hibernate configuration file. This is hibernate.cfg.xml. That is a file. Okay, I'm getting something like version DTD 5.3 something. Okay, you don't worry about that. I will update the project. Then automatically I will get out of all this. Okay, right. We will remove these errors later. It's not a problem. But coming to the point here. What is the root element of writing the Hibernate configuration file? That is called Hibernate-configuration. Hibernate-configuration. This is what Hibernate-configuration is, the what root tag. Hibernate-configuration. What's the next one? Session factory. I told already. Next. Let's move on. First, I written a comment here. The comment is a connection properties I'm configuring over there. Because in Hibernate configuration file, we can able to configure the, what we can able to configure? Connection properties. It is a file used to configure connection properties first. Hibernate properties next. Mapping files next. Got my point? Okay. That mapping file I will configure next. Let us understand about this one. Okay, we don't worry about that. All these errors I'll remove. Session factory. I written a comment. This is a property to configure what? A driver class. So actually the property name is Hibernate dot connection dot driver underscore class. Hibernate dot connection dot URL. Next one is what? Hibernate dot connection dot username. Then the next one is what? Hibernate dot connection dot password. Actually, these are the value. These are the properties actually, correct? But shortcut is, if you remove Hibernate also, there is no problem. I mean, what is the shortcut for the same property? Connection dot driver underscore class. Your wish. If you want, you can write in this way, or you can write only connection dot driver underscore class. Remember that it is underscore symbol. It is not a hyphen symbol. That is the only one thing I would like to clarify. And you are aware of what? And you are aware of what? You are aware of com.mysql.cj.jdbc.driver. Got my point? This is called what? Driver class name, MySQL driver class name. This is my URL. Okay. And this is the password, username, and this is the password. What these four are? These four are called connection properties: driver class name, URL, username, and password. And these are Hibernate properties. Let me talk about. Okay, let me talk about first property. This is dialect property in Hibernate. I told you already. Hibernate internally prepares SQL queries and will execute them in data on the database. Based on your database server, if it is MySQL, SQL queries are generated as per MySQL database. If it is Oracle, SQL queries are generated as per Oracle. To generate those queries, Hibernate has provided dialect classes, right? Based on the database to whom you are connecting, you also need to configure the dialect class. So here I am connecting with MySQL. Okay. I'm using MySQL driver class name, MySQL URL, username, and password, which means what? Our application is connecting with what? MySQL. So what is the dialect class I configured is org.hibernate.dialect is the package name. What is the class name? MySQL 8 dialect. If your database is Oracle, then Oracle dialect is a class. If your database is a DB2, DB2 dialect is a class. If your database is PostgreSQL, PostgreSQL dialect is a class. Like that, there are different dialect classes are given by Hibernate. You have to configure based on your database. What is the purpose of the dialect class in Hibernate? It will generate the SQL queries with respect to the underlying database. With respect to the underlying, if underlying database is Oracle, SQL queries are generated according to Oracle, right? If your underlying database is MySQL, SQL queries are generated as per MySQL, right? Next, if you want to look at the queries, enable this property. And currently I'm using here create. Next, I'll tell you about remaining. If I set the value for this property as create, which means automatically the table is created for me. If a table is already there in my database for me, that table will be dropped first. It will drop the table. Current existing table will be dropped from database. Then a new table will be created to perform operations on the database. Because I'm setting the value as a create now. Create means I would like to create, my application wants to create a new table to perform the operations. What will happen if already table exists? That a table is automatically going to be dropped. Then new table will be created. Sure. And if you want to see the queries in formatted way, not entire query in a single line, but you want to get in formatted way, like in Oracle class, I'm writing query in multiple lines now. So to get the query in formatted way, then we can add this property format underscore SQL. Let's see how it is going to work. Let us see how it is going to work. I will do that. Observe it. Try to understand me. I will tell you. Now this is my Hibernate configuration file. What's the file name? Hibernate.cfg.xml. Actually, this is the doc type we need to copy paste. 1 minute. I'll show you from any one example. You can just open it. Any one example you can open through Google. Okay. Hibernate.cfg.xml. You type like this. Any one example. Hibernate.cfg.xml. Just open one file. Any one example, your choice, any website or whatever that you want, you just do that. You have this XML version, blah, 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 is there now? What you do now simply? What is this? Copy, paste it. Copy this. Copy this. Paste it. Copy and paste it. Got my point now? Right. Did. Okay. This is not mapping. It is mapping a configuration. Configuration. Yesterday, mapping. So both are not same. You see, this is the mapping.dtd. But this one, configuration.dtd. Both are not equal. Na? So try to identify the difference. So what is completed today now? But in this configuration file, one more tag is missing. Mapping. Already what and what properties I configured here? Connection properties. I already configured the connection properties. I have already configured the Hibernate properties as well. What is the next one I need to configure is mapping files. What is that? Mapping files. There is a tag called mapping tag. Mapping resources. There is a tag called mapping. Mapping contains an attribute called resource. What is our file name? Student.hbm.xml. Got my point? Right. Now it is configuration file. So far, what and what files we completed? Mapping file completed, configuration file completed. And also our Java class, Pojo class is also created. What is the next step? Our next step is we should write the DAO class. So let's open. Listen to me. I am creating a new package. com.ait.dao. This is a new package. I want to create a new interface here. What's interface I'm creating? Student DAO is an interface. It's not a class now, it is an interface. In this student DAO, first initially I would like to have two methods. Okay, initially I want to have one method. Later I will expand this interface to have two methods. Then three methods. To perform CRUD operations, we'll complete this example. Okay. So what I would like to do now, I just want to write only one method. The method which I would like to write is void. I'm using return type as what? Simple void. Okay. Then what I want to say simply insert student, nothing but save student. I would like to pass student object as an argument. Which operation I want to perform? Save student. Where should I write its implementation? In a class. Okay. Interface implementations are provided in a class only now. Right. I would like to write one more class. What is the class I want to create? My class name is student DAO IMPL. One class I want to write. That student DAO IMPL class implements what? Student DAO. And in that, which method I want to override? Save student. Save student is a method. Na? What I have to do? I have to override. Yes, I'll override it. But when I'm writing the logic, I'm not using JDBC API to perform this operation, right? Which API I want to use to perform this save operation on database? Hibernate. But in the previous sessions, I told you, if at all you want to use Hibernate to perform operations, there are some objects you need to create. What's the first object? High level object. I told you session factory object, then session object, then transaction object. Then you have to commit or roll back the transaction. Then you need to close. You got my point? Sure, I'll do that. So first, I want to create a new package. Guys, I want to create a new package. Package name is what? com.ait.dao .impl. New class I'm creating. What is the class I'm creating? Student DAOIMPL. Now I want to click on add button to add an interface in this box. This class implements an interface called what? Student DAO. When I start typing, I'm just getting the search. Student DAO. I got the suggestion. Then okay. Now what is my class name? Student DAO IMPL. It implements student DAO. Okay, right. Very good. First, I just want to tell you, I will like to declare. I want to declare one variable session factory. Say, for example, I want to take a reference variable name as factory. There are two imports are identified. Which one you want to import? Hibernate. Not from MySQL, use Hibernate. Okay, I got an import here. arg.hibernate.session factory. Session factory. I have just created a reference variable, but I have not created a real object. I have not assigned any object to the reference variable. I have to do that. I will tell you how to do that. To do this, okay, what is a high level object in Hibernate we discussed earlier? Session factory. From session factory, multiple sessions can be created. To perform any database operations, from Hibernate application, a session with the database is required. Who can create the sessions? Session factory can create them. So session factory is a factory for creating sessions. That's the meaning of session factory. But to create a session factory object, before that, we need some other objects. They are called service registry object is required. Metadata object is required. So we no need to worry about these objects because from next example, we don't use this first of all. It is only a pure Hibernate application that is not required here. We need to work with the JPA actually. But still, I will explain. I'm doing one thing. Public constructor I'm writing. What I'm writing? Constructor. Okay, I'm defining a constructor. Observe here. Okay, there is a constructor, student DAO IMPL, which is a constructor. Inside this, I will explain you the code. Just a minute, I'll explain you the code. The code is all are from Hibernate package. My reference name is factory equal to. Now look at the code here. Let's have an explanation for this code. You can see there is a constructor called what? Student DAO IMPL. It is a constructor. And we know that whenever we create an object of this DAO class, immediately we know that this constructor is executed now. Yes. When object is created, immediately its constructor gets executed. In the constructor, what I'm writing is first create a service registry object. Use this service registry object as an argument to create a metadata object. Use metadata object to build session factory object. Means how session factory object can be created in Hibernate application. Session factory object can be created through metadata object. Metadata object is created through registry object. These are all interlinked objects. These are interlinked objects. What object is created? Service registry. Through service registry object, what is created? Metadata object. Through metadata object, what is created finally? Session factory object. So this is the code for that. Just feel like that. Nothing is required. And here we are passing our configuration file name. What is our configuration file name? Hibernate.cfg.xml. That's it. Because if I explain service registry, if I explain metadata, from tomorrow it is not going to be useful. It's unnecessary knowledge. Because we are not using pure Hibernate now in anywhere. We are working with the JPA with the Hibernate, right? So that's the reason why it's unnecessary concept for us as of now. So feel like this. So how session factory object can be created in Hibernate? Session factory object can be created through metadata object. Metadata object can be created through service registry object. So first, what object is required? Service registry object is required. After that, metadata object is created. Then session factory object is created. So already I declared a reference variable factory I created for session factory. So here I'm using the session factory variable. Variable name is factory. This is constructor. Now coming to save student operation. What to do here? I want to save the student object to the database. But in Hibernate, if at all you want to perform any database operations through Hibernate, a session is required. What is required? Session. Session with a database is required. Session required means you can say internally there will be a connection established between our Hibernate application and database. Session is opened means connection is opened. Session is closed means connection is closed. You have to feel like that. Okay, right? To perform any database operation, first connection is required. Na? In Hibernate terms, it is called what? Session. So what is the next step? Yes, I have to create a session object. How can I do that? Session equal to factory dot open session. So then whenever I'm importing session, you are getting multiple options here. Do you want the first one or the second one or the third one? Which one I have to choose? Third one from Hibernate package. From the Hibernate package. What you got finally? You got the session object. You got the session object. Very good. Session equal to factory dot open session. Clear. Session is created. Which operation I want to perform? Save. What is our requirement? We want to save this student object given as a parameter to this method. I would like to save this object to the database. Are you clear now? Very good. Observe here. Transaction T equal to session dot begin transaction. Transaction means which transaction you want to import? Hibernate. So you got the session object, you got the transaction object. Because I told earlier what if Hibernate application wants to perform any operations like inserting or updating or deleting on database, it must be done within transaction. Select is not a transaction operation, but what are called transaction operations? Insert, update, delete. These three are called transaction operations. So transaction is required here. I'll do one thing. I'll keep the code in try block. I'll keep the code in try block. In try block, what I say, session dot save of student. Simple. When I call save, it will save in database. Internally work is done by Hibernate. We don't worry. Session dot save of what? Student. Session dot save of student. Very simple. Done. And if there is no exception, for example, I would like to say SOP student object is persisted in database. When can I expect this output? When can I expect this output like student object is persisted in database? When can I expect it? If I don't get any exception during the save operation. If there is an exception happened, for example, then if there is no exception, I want to say t dot commit. Commit now? Very good. When commit operation works, if there is no exception. If there is an exception, then we know that control jumps to catch block now. Catch. Say exception EX. What I want to here, I simply want to roll back it. I want to first roll back the transaction. Even I want display one message saying that what? Issue in persisting student object. Something. Or error in persisting student object, something. Got my point? Then I want display that exception. How can I display that exception? If I want to display complete exception details, which method I have to call? Print stack trace. If just you want to display exception type and exception message, only two parts, then you can go for system.out.println of the object. First of all, you should have an idea of how I can able to display the exception details. There are three ways to display the exception details. One is complete stack trace. Second one is exception type and message. Third one is only message. You know, if I want display only exception message but not the exception type, then which method I have to call? Get message. What's the method name? Get message. Get message method you have to call. Right? That's the reason why core Java is the life of the Java developer. Okay. This Hibernate Spring is not important. What is important for Java developers? Core Java only important. Everything is a try catch is core Java only na. Method is a core Java only na. Overriding interface class. All these are coming from where class reference, interface reference, creating object, method, methods calling. From where you are learning all these things? Core Java. Core Java is nothing but life of Java. Okay, remaining all nothing, remaining all simple. Everything you have to get from core Java concepts only. That's the reason why generally I say core Java is most important in the life of the Java developers. Right? As much you gain in core Java, that much perfection you will get in writing the applications in real time. Okay, good. So I just want to say, I want to display only the exception type and message. That's it. Okay. Finally block I want, right? Finally, I want to close the session. So I'm including try catch finally blocks. You got my point? Yes. Finally, session dot close. Since I'm creating standalone application and I have only one method, I don't have multiple methods. Even I can close the session factory also. Okay, I can close session factory also, but generally not recommended to close like this, but still we can do it. If you want, we can do it. We can close the session factory object also. Say factory dot close. Done. What is completed so far? DAO class completed. With one method I have created. What is the one method? Save student. Yeah. Have you understood, guys? Please give me a reply. C or N? Yeah, we go ahead. Okay, nice. Okay, once again, I'm repeating. Those who are not yet understood, you can able to understand it. Basically, in Hibernate, the high-level objects are basically in high-level objects in Hibernate are one is a session factory object, next one is a session object, then next one is the transaction object. Okay, so first thing, if I want to create a session factory object in Hibernate, there are some supporting objects are required. That is called metadata object. But to create or to build metadata object, we need a service registry object. So first statement is to create a service registry object, and second one is to create a metadata object. Then finally we are getting our session factory object. Session factory object can be created through metadata object. Metadata object is created through service registry object. That is the interlinking objects, these three. Then after that, I started what? Save session operation. If I want to perform any database operation, what I need? Session. Through session, I can begin transaction. Why I need a transaction here? Because I want to perform save operation. Save means I want to insert the student in database. To perform insert or update or delete, for these three operations, Hibernate need a transaction. So Hibernate can perform these operations only within a transaction. So first we begin the transaction, then we start performing our operation. If there is no exception occurred, then we want to commit. If there is an exception occurred, then we want to roll back. And then finally what we want to do is close this session, because I don't want to perform any next operation. If there is no next operation you want to perform, you can close the session. And of course, I'm also closing session factory. It's not recommended. This is what we did so far. Next step. We have written today Hibernate configuration file. Got it? We did what? Hibernate configuration file we created today. Then we created one DAO interface today. Then we created our DAO class today. What is a method that I have created in my DAO class? Now what I want to do is I want to test really this save student method is working or not working. Right? Means what should I do? I have to write one main class. Generally in standalone applications, how can you test whether your methods are working or not working? You are just writing the main class. You are creating an object for your class there, and you are calling the methods. Now tell me which method I want to test now. Save student. So what I'm going to write next? One main class I'm writing. I would like to name my main class name as tester. So I would like to create one new package for that. One new package I'm creating. Package name is com.ait.client. What's the package I'm creating? com.ait.client. One new class I'm creating inside. That class name is test or tester with the main method, public static void main method. Okay, then finish. Okay, how do I test this? Save student method is properly working or not working? I have to call the method first. This method I want to call, right? To call this method, I need to pass an argument. What is an argument? student object. Okay, I'll do that. But if I want to call the method, first I have to create object of this DAO class now. So tell me first, what should I do? Student DAO equal to new student DAO IMPL. Again, I repeat, core Java is important. Because right side I'm creating an object for what? Implementation class. But left side I'm storing that object in, I'm assigning that object to whom? Interface reference variable. Who is my reference variable? DAO. So in interface reference variable, what we can store is implementation class object. You got this statement from core Java only, na? Yes. In an interface reference variable, what we can store is implementation class object. Who is my interface here? Who is my implementation class here? Student DAO IMPL. Right. Which method of this DAO class I want to call? But if I want to call the save student method, what I need to pass? I have to pass the student object. So that's the reason why first I want to create a student object. See, I'm creating the student object here. Observe here, guys, I'm creating student object. Student equal to new student of. New student of. But this is an empty object now. Correct? I would like to set the data for this object now. How can I set the data? Setter methods. Set SID, student ID, 11011. Set S name, that is student name. For example, Rahul. Got my point? Rahul. Next one is what? Student dot set marks. Sorry. Okay. Set marks. Gender male. Student dot set marks. Yes. For example, marks 600. You got my point? Yeah. Now what is created here? First of all, I have created the student object. Then I am setting the ID, name, gender, and marks. Clear? Then what next I want to do? I would like to call the DAO method. DAO dot. What's the method I'm calling? Save student. What I'm passing as an argument? Student object. That's all. We are done. First of all, I want to open the MySQL workbench. Because we are working with MySQL, na? So how can I verify whether student record is inserted or student object is persisted to the database or not? First I have to check my database, right? How can I connect and verify? Through client application. Who is the client application I want to use? MySQL workbench. MySQL workbench. Okay, I want a database. Test is a database here. There is a table called student which is already there. If I say, for example, use test, select star from student. Okay, select star from student. Example. Select star from student. Okay, we can execute it, of course. There are no records now, but table is there, right? Oh, no problem. First of all, I want to open my mapping file. I would like to show. Where is my mapping file here? I will tell you the mapping file. Tell me in my mapping file, to which table I am mapping? TBL underscore, not student table. What is the table name? Tell me, first of all, do you find any TBL underscore student here? No. No. We have only student, but we don't have. But who will create the table for me automatically? Hibernate. We don't worry. Hibernate will create table for me. Sure. Let's see. Let's identify. Okay, let's identify how it is going to be. Okay, no problem. Let's go ahead. Let's go ahead. Okay. I'll go to my IDE. Now this is my Java class and I want to run this. Run as a Java application. I got an exception. I have to check. No class, def, found error, XML bind. Okay, no problem. If you are getting any this kind of JAXB exception, something like that, we need to add some additional dependencies in the pom.xml related to JAXB. Related to what? JAXB. Okay, just observe it. I will add more dependencies now. I will add more dependencies now related to JAXB API. You can see here. These are the JAXB API dependencies. These three. So to overcome that JAXB exception, we need to add additional dependencies in our pom.xml. The three additional dependencies I have added: JAXB API, JAXB core, JAXB IMPL. Three more dependencies I have included. These are the dependencies I have included. You can see, okay, I will make a zip file of this example and I'll upload into our portal, Ashok IT portal. From there, you can download and verify what are the dependencies newly I have added here, right? What is that? JAXB API, JAXB core, JAXB IMPL. JAXB for Java API for XML binding. Okay, JAXB stands for Java API for XML binding. This is one API in Java. We have to add the dependencies. Okay. I'll update the project once. You know how to update the project, right? Yes, you can update the project once. Yes, I did that. And once I did that, then I can run my application for one more time. This is my main class tester. Right click, run as Java application. So finally, we got output like this. Now see the output here. Output is first what Hibernate. See, these are all some logs. Hibernate logs. We don't worry. Leave about that. This is logs. I told Hibernate uses built-in connection pool. Okay, leave about that. That we'll discuss later. We have so much time to discuss connection pooling in Hibernate. Leave about that. But see here. First, what Hibernate executed? Drop table if exists, but table is not there. Remember, this if exists does not work in. This if exists does not work in Oracle. It will work in MySQL, but doesn't work in Oracle. Like that, there is some difference between 80% the same queries are working in all the databases, but 20% of queries does not work on every database. There is a slight variation. Okay, observe here. This is my Hibernate executed query. What's the query Hibernate executed? Create table. Who is creating the table for you? Hibernate. This is a query. If you want to see this query, if you want to look at this query, one property you need to add there. What's the property? Show underscore SQL. Next, if you want to get the query in this format, you also need to add one more property. What is it? Format underscore SQL. You see my code. I have included two properties there. One is a show underscore SQL and other one is format underscore SQL. Yes. If I don't use format underscore SQL, you can see this entire query in one line. So you can't understand the query, right? So to make it properly, so we used format SQL. After creating the table, next what Hibernate did? Inserted. You got my point? Yes. And of course, I'm getting a message called what? Student object is persisted in database. So how can I check really persisted or not? How can I do that? Go to workbench. Go to workbench. Refresh once. Refresh schemas once. You can see the new table here. What's the table name? TBL underscore student. What I want to do here? Select star from TBL underscore what? Student. Now we can see that there is a one record inserted. This is the ID. Name is Rahul. Male is a gender. Gender is the male here. Marks are 600. But question is, are you creating this table? No. Are you writing any insert query? No. Tell me what you did simply. You called one method. You have called one method. What is the method? Save student. You just called one method. What's the method? Save student. Look at the code. Look at the code. That is a use of working with the ORM tools. You called one method in the DAO class. Yes. Look at this here, guys. What's the method I'm calling here? Session dot save of student. Got it right? What's the one method simply called? Session dot save is a method I called. I am passing the student object. Then tell me what Hibernate did. Hibernate has inserted this student data into table. That's all. This is called transferring the object from our application to the database. Who did this work? Hibernate. So we call Hibernate as a ORM tool, because what an ORM tool can do? What an ORM tool can do, guys? This ORM tool can transfer the objects from our application to the database, or from database to our application. In both the ways. In both the ways, it will send the object there, it will get the object into our application. So that is called ORM tool, right? ORM tool is used to transfer objects between application and the database. Which object is transferred here? Student object is transferred. From where to where? From our application to the database. Okay. See, observe once again. First, what Hibernate is doing here? It is dropping the table. Then it is creating the new table. Then it is performing the insert operation. Question is, observe here. I would like to run this test program one more time with a different data. Student ID 22022. Student name Sunny. Male, marks are 700. You got my point, guys? Everybody, you got my point? Yes. I want to add this record to the database. What will happen then if I run this program? Expect it. What's going to happen if I run this application now? What is going to happen if I run this application now? What is going to happen now? First, it will drop the table. Then it will create a new table and will insert. Means what are you going to do? You are going to get data loss. Correct? Am I right or not? So why it is going to do like that? Because in the Hibernate configuration file, I have written the value for this property as create. Means what I am telling Hibernate, what I am configuring to Hibernate is before performing any operations on the database, you first create a new table in database. I'm telling like that. What Hibernate is doing first, it is dropping the existing table. Now it is creating the new table, then it is performing the operation. You are getting my point? Let's see once again, is really happening like that or not? Yes. Let's run this code again. Correct. See once again what is happening. Drop the table, create the new table, insert. Let's see. Through workbench, select star from TBL underscore student. Tell me, do I have any, okay, do I have any record for, okay, do I have any record for the previous one, Rahul? No. How many records are there now? Only one row is there. Because what happened to the previous table? That previous table is dropped now. Yes. So what is when to use create as a value for this property HBM to DDL.auto? When to use this? When to use this value create here? If you are executing your application for first time. Basically, when you are executing your application for a very first time, there are no tables available in database now. You can go with what? Create. But if your application is already executed, once executed, then for next time onwards, don't use create. Then you have to use the other value as update. What is that? Update. Update means what Hibernate do? Will use existing tables to perform the operations. It won't drop the existing table. It won't drop it. It will use same table to perform operations. So which value you have to choose now? Update. When to use create? When first time when you are executing your application, you are sure that you don't have any tables and data in the database, you can use create. But from the next time onwards, you have to change to update. Update. Okay, I will do update. Now I would like to run this application for one more time. But I want to change now the data in the tester. I want to change again back to 11011. I would like to use a name as Rahul. I want to use marks are 600. Got it now? Now my question is, if I run this program, will I get any data loss for Sunny? No. No, right? No data loss for Sunny, because Hibernate is not going to drop the existing table. It will use existing table only. Yes. Let's see. Let's see how it's going to work. You can see here, are you finding any query on console saying that drop table, create table, only what operation is performed? Insert. Insert. Go and check. Now we can able to see the two records now. Yes. Yes. So when to use create and when to use update? When to use the value create there, here, when to use a value create and when to use a value update, that's what I'm asking. When you are executing your application for first time, where you don't have any tables in the database for your application, then use create. And for the remaining next time, you can go for update. From the next time, use update so that existing tables will be used. That's a update here. Okay, right? If you are testing, I will tell you testing in the sense, data is not important in the database. I want to test whether my application is working or not working without any exceptions. If I want to test it also, table is required now. But that table is permanently required there or only till my application executed. When I'm testing my application, do I need the table permanently there? No. So why I'm executing this application now? To test whether application is working or not working without any exceptions. Means what? Create the table, execute operations on the database. Once it is successful, drop it. You are getting my point? Why? Because I don't want that table permanently in the database. My requirement is what? What is my requirement here? My application I am testing. What I am testing? Is my application is working without any exceptions or not? That's it. I don't want this table and I don't want this data. You are getting my point? Then there is one more value available, and that value is called create hyphen drop. Now, once again, I'll show you. Tell me what's the next value I'm explaining? Create hyphen drop. See, so far, what are the values I've explained to you? In a notepad, if I type, tell me HBM2 DDL dot auto is a property na? Hibernate dot HBM2 DDL dot auto. Tell me what's the values I have explained to you. Create value I have explained. What's the next value I have explained? Update I have explained. Now I am explaining about what? Create hyphen drop. Okay. When to use create? When you are executing the application for very first time, you are sure that you don't have any tables and data, then go for create. Okay. If you are executing the application for next time, don't use create. If you use create, what is a drawback? You will get the data loss because existing tables are going to be dropped. So what is the other value that you need to change? Update. When to use create drop? If I'm testing my application, but I don't want this table and data in the database, then use create hyphen drop. What Hibernate will do? It will create the table, it will perform the operations, and once operations are completed, then it will automatically drop the table also. You are getting my point? Yes. What's the command for? What is the value for that? Create hyphen drop. When to use it? When we are just testing our application, that whether we are getting any exceptions or not. Okay, let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Same example we'll use. Let's run this. You can see here, guys. First, it is dropping the existing table because I have a table. What is doing now? Creating the table, performing the operation, again dropping the table. Go and check in the database now. Open MySQL Workbench and verify. I'm getting an error because I don't have any table. In the test database, what's the only one table I have? But what is my table name? TBL underscore student. But the table is dropped. Is dropped. I don't have the table. If I'm executing query like select star from TBL student, then I'm getting an error here. Table TBL underscore student does not exist. You are getting now? Okay, nice, cool. So means what's the other value we tested? Create hyphen drop. Tell me so far what are the values we have tested? Create, update, create hyphen drop. The last value of this property is a validate. And this is the default value. So what's the default value of this property? Validate. Validate means Hibernate will only check. What it checks? The corresponding tables, columns exist in the database or not. If yes, it will perform operation. If no, it will throw exception. Means what? It is not creating the tables or it is not dropping the tables. Simply it will validate whether the table and columns in the database are existed or not. If exist, execute operations there. If no, throw an exception. So what's the default value? Validate. If I don't write, the default value is validate. For example, I want to change now. Tell me, what's the next value I'm writing here? Validate. What's the value? Validate. Let's see. Let's see what happens now. Tell me now, do you have table? In the database, do you have table? Do you have any columns in the table? No. No. Let's run. What I'm getting? Exception. Exception. What's the final remaining all? Okay. Schema validation. Missing table. What's the table missing? Table. And is it creating the table for you? But I told you Hibernate will automatically generate a table in the database for you. I told you, na? Tell me, it will by default generate or we have to add the property? Which property we have to add? That is value. Which property have to add? What's the name of the property? Hibernate dot HBM2 DDL dot auto. Okay, what's the property name? Hibernate dot HBM2 DDL dot auto. Property you have to add. What's the default value of this property? Validate. What are the other values we can change to? Create, update, create hyphen, drop. Guys, everybody are getting? Write in chat box Y or N. Y or N. Observe here. These are the 4 values of this property. Which property? Hibernate.hbm2ddl.auto. Yes. 4 values are there. What's the default value here? Validate. But generally we use mostly update. Update. Because mostly we are working on existing application. We are not working on a new application, right? What's the mostly used value? Update. When you open any real-time application, you can see update there. Okay, right? But you should know about the what is the meaning of create, update, create a hyphen drop. Next one is validate. Okay, I will write some 1-2 points here on this. I'll write 1-2 points here on this. What's the point I'm writing is? First one is what? Create. What happens if it is create? Hibernate drops the existing table, creates new tables to perform operations. To perform operations. I'm writing, guys, observe. This is create. Which means you're writing property what? Property name equal to Hibernate dot HBM2 DDL dot auto. The value is what? Create. Okay, right? And what's another value that we have is update. So Hibernate uses existing tables to perform database operations. Okay, so what I'm writing here, property name equal to Hibernate dot HBM2 DDL dot auto, I can write the values update. And the next one, create hyphen drop. What Hibernate will do? Hibernate creates new tables to perform operations. Okay, right? Guys in online, you can take a screenshot of it. Once I did all the 4 values. This is only small notes. I'm not uploading it for you because it's just only a simple thing. You can just make a snapshot of it through your mobile. So Hibernate creates new tables to perform operations. Okay. And drops the tables at the end of the application. At the end of the application. Are you getting my guys? Hibernate creates new tables to perform operations and drops the tables at the end of the application. That is called create hyphen drop. And mostly it is used for testing the application. Mostly used in unit testing. Unit testing. Mostly used in unit testing. Okay. I will just want to. Okay. I want to write here. I want right here something like this. First of all, I want to decrease the font size so that you can get in a single screenshot. Just a minute. Okay. So the property is what property? You can write the tag like this. Property name equal to Hibernate dot HBM to DDL dot auto. What's the value I'm writing is create hyphen drop. The next value, validate. Validate is something like Hibernate. Okay, Hibernate validates the tables and columns in the database. Okay, if not exist, if a table or column, if a table or a column does not exist, it will throw an exception. And this is the default value of the property. So finally, you can take a screenshot of this through your mobile and write it into your notes. Now you can take a screenshot. Okay. So that's what we discussed for today. We'll continue further in tomorrow's class.